So, collective agency. So the first cooperative I started, the second cooperative I started was within a company. And it was this company that sold TVs and home appliances online. And I was doing marketing, and I would write some text, and that would get passed to someone who would find images, and that would get passed to someone who would design a web page. And at the end, it would come back to me, and I said, "This looks terrible." And I showed it to them. I went up to them, because I didn't usually work next to them. I found them across the rooms, and I said, "This looks terrible." And they said, "We know. We don't like doing it this way." And company was one of the biggest in that industry, $60 million in sales a year. And I went to the president, and I had already gotten him some good things, some good results. And I said, if I get 6 people together from these departments where we never talk to each other, and we agree on something, can we do it? And he said, "You'll never agree on it. He said, "I'll need to approve it first." And I said, "Well, if you have to approve everything, we won't be able to own our work." So I said, "If we all agree on it, can we do it?" And he said, "You'll never agree on it." "Sure." So I wrote up some project management. I wrote up some things to do that we could do in 2 weeks. I got the manager of the website it was for, the sales manager. I got a guy who worked in the computer section doing the websites. Got a guy who did marketing. Got the people from the original problem. I got them together, where we didn't like the way we did the work, and so we had something to solve. And we had specific results. We were gonna get 20 new web pages up with text and image, and they were gonna be the landing page, the main pages on this website. So they would make a difference if they were good. And so we met. I had a list of things. We crossed some of them off. Some people added some things, and we all agreed on each item. There wasn't that much. And I had some plan. I'd planned out the whole year, and we didn't get to that. And we never did, which is great, because that would have been me replacing the president. So the first 2 weeks, we agreed on it. We went off, came back a week later. We checked in for an hour. It was going well. There was a guy doing computers who really did not want to talk with anyone. So the web designer had better people skills, and he sort of coached the programmer. A week after, we met again, and it looked good, and we launched the website. And I was told later that would have taken 9 months if it happened doing it the regular way, and we did it in 2 weeks. And so from that, people were aware we were doing something really strange, and they were asking what it was, and they didn't ask me so much, but they asked the other 5 people. And so out of that, someone wanted to do recycling in the office, which wasn't done, and someone wanted to fix the sales page, so people who were checking out, so more people could actually make a purchase. It was hard for people to buy. And there were a lot of other things we did. So I call that self-organizing teams. People said, "I want to do this. I'm going to own this project for a few weeks," and we got it done. And every project happened within 2 weeks, or it didn't happen at all. So the recycling didn't happen. The kid who decided that, he couldn't find a reason why other people would care. So that could have been a business reason, that could have been the environment, but he didn't want to go around to people and tell them why recycling mattered to them, or ask them. But things like the sales site, we got that up. Sorry?
I was more speaking to myself, that's about how you craft your message.
How you craft your message. So if someone really cares or only listens to stuff about revenue, fine. I got really good at talking to the president about revenue. And that was not my main goal, but I found reasons why things good for people is good for revenue. And if someone really cared about recycling, I'm sure that Mike would have found 6 people in the company, or 20, who really cared about recycling, and I'm sure he could have got it done, but he wasn't ready yet, and that's fine. Okay, so then at Collective Agency, years later in Portland, there was a workplace called Souk, and it was an LLC, and I'll put up I know it's kind of a small screen, but you can at least see images of what it looks like now.
Excuse me, Alex?
Yeah.
I'm hanging, wondering what happened to...
What happened?
What happened to this business,
Yeah.
the other one, where you were organizing all of these
Yeah.
self-organizing groups.
So what happened to the business was after that first project, one of the guys on it quit. And he said that he had never thought we could do something like that at this company. And he joined a company where he could do that. So he was so frustrated over those years, and then he got what he wanted. So it inspired him to do that somewhere else. And that's just a cost that happens. Sometimes people are frustrated and they something good happens and they're going to go somewhere else. But everyone else, what happened was we were earning $1 million more in profits every year, and the company was sold, and it got a very nice, and everyone learned a lot and had fun, I think. So a good ending. I wish it wasn't sold, but that's how it was. Yeah, thanks. And then, so collective agency, there was a workplace called Souk in Old Town in Portland, and the owner, Julie, started it and did an amazing amount of outreach and work and did a really great job at, she wrote these community guidelines I'll talk about. So in a way, it was very cooperatively based. And it's part of this industry called co-working. So co-working is not cooperative, essentially, but basically people work in the same big office. Sometimes they have private offices, sometimes they all work together. But what if you could work and share an address and get to know people at other companies and work together? That's what co-working is. And Souk means marketplace. That was her vision for it. And there's a really great video I found of her talking about this marketplace that she wanted to happen. And so you had all kinds of people working on software and doing marketing, and they would get to know each other. But essentially it was her making the decisions. And then she had a kid, so after about 4 years she decided to close it. And I was working there. There were, 20 people working there, different companies. And we said, what? So she gave us a month notice. She was going to close it because she was moving to Bend and having a kid. And so it was a month notice, and so what did we do? And I was working there, and I said, I'm going to take it over, essentially. I'm going to see what I can do to, as a separate business, continue the lease, keep the furniture. And that's what a lot of members wanted. And that's what we ended up doing. So that's how collective agency got started. But a few weeks before that, she was on vacation in China for a few weeks, and I had said, I was working on my software company at the time, and I said, I really care about this place. It could be so much more. And so I started asking for advice, and I asked Summer Abbott, who had meetings there, and I went and I met Fitz at an art gallery across the street, and where he was showing a painting he had made. And I met a lot of other people, so I reached out to tens of people who had said something, people who cared a lot. Either they hated something about it or they loved something about it. Because if someone's emotional, then they're more likely to do something, I think. So if someone's really frustrated or if someone's really excited, that's usually a good person to go to and say, what do you want? What do you want this to be? And the main feedback I got was that there had been different rates for different people based on how much Julie thought the events would be good. So there wasn't a written down set of rules. If you have this kind of event, it's this rate. There was a set of rates, but everyone knew you could get a discount. And people were frustrated by that, especially people getting a discount, because sometimes they couldn't get a discount if they didn't get approved. Similar to the president of the company, I just wanted a way everyone could get approved and just know what the deal was. So, yeah.
I'm a little confused as to what actually
What happened?
goes on. No,
Yeah.
what
goes on?
are these people actually
Sure.
doing?
I'll pass this around and you can see what happens now.
Like,
Basically, people work at laptops and they type and they go to lunch. And nowadays we have lots of events.
but I mean, are they separate businesses? Are
Yeah.
The photos change.
Yeah, they're separate businesses. So we have 1 and 2 person companies. We have Mozilla is there now, which has 15 employees there. Citrix has 2 people. So it's separate companies, and they've said, how can we share an office?
Okay.
Sometimes the reason is cost, which is really boring to me as a reason. Sometimes the reason is community. And the single biggest reason people are there, we did a survey, is they want to be around people doing a variety of work. That's more common as a reason than the cost or than being around people who are doing similar work. So if you're doing anything, if you're a writer, if you're a marketer, if you're however you define yourself, and you want some people to talk to, you might want to work at Collective
They're all
Agency.
service companies, apparently.
I'm not sure. There's no retail there, so no one's doing bike repair, although that would be amazing if it was kind of quiet. There are some consultants, there are some coaches. Yeah, mostly service. Yeah, no one's manufacturing there.
They have.
They have.
Not currently, but they have.
Okay. There's a lot I don't know. What have they manufactured?
Some open source mapping tools.
Okay.
So for
Oh yeah.
so there was one project where he was building kites. So you could buy these kites to fly cameras above environmental disasters and start making maps of them. And so he was making the kites as well as plans on how to make the kites.
Uh-huh.
And then he was also making spectrometers. So out of CDs, with CDs and webcams, so you could really take environmental samples and analyze seawater to see if it had oil in it and what kinds of things were in the oil. There was also a shoe company at one point.
So there has been, yeah.
Would you say there's anybody there who makes something outside the place, but then does things connected with that there?
Websites is the biggest one I can think of.